Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to all three channels, Evolutionary Energy Arts, the original, founded in August 2017. Yes, founded actually right pretty much on the day, a couple days before, the very first of the eclipses. And now we've been through 2 eclipses. We got just one more left. And EEARTS, which started as our backup channel, right before I got the feeling we better make a backup channel. And yes, they started hitting Evolutionary with all sorts of strikes and demonetization. And then OMMM, that's the lighter side. That's the more spiritual side. So if you can't take the news anymore, you need to escape and you want some things that are going to be more uplifting, then head this way. Absolutely. More spirituality without the dogma. Now on Patreon, we did this video yesterday for Patreons only. Nuclear warning, Unified Islamic Army gathering military lasers used in combat for the first time. Yeah, again, this is still escalating. There's a lot of mixed signals out there. Let's say there's a lot of mixed signals, but one thing that's not slowing down is the destruction over in the Gaza Strip and more expansion in this conflict, which again has been so well orchestrated. I've noticed a lot of people making comments that, boy, it seems like everybody forgot that Netanyahu was almost booted by his own people. You literally had 1 million people out in the streets protesting, and now they're not all. There's not the same thing going on to get rid of Netanyahu. Do you see how effective it can be to again create a diversion? And even when the diversions, or maybe I should say, especially when the diversions cost so many lives.
That's horrible. I think this fits the definition of FF, and I don't want to say the words because we get, that. But you can see it's not that no one gets hurt. It's not that the consequences are not real. It's not that it's fake in any way, shape, or form. But gosh, does it create such a huge diversion? And it's almost like a punishment to the people, saying, here, if you're going to threaten me this way, then this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to come back at you tenfold. And this is absolutely not the symbiotic world that was intended to be created for us. This is a very parasitic, very much infiltrated world that we have the ability to change.
This is, one of the most densely populated little strips of real estate on the planet that is getting just carpet bombed. I mean, decimated. It's insanity. Truly it is. But this world is based on insanity. The system is based on what people with a heart would call insanity. Here you see an Israeli army officer's alarming statement. Betzalel Tajal, an army officer with Israel, says the war is not just with Hamas, but with all the civilians that cannot see us as human beings that want to kill us. Okay, so, and there's been multiple comments that by different Israeli officials that there are no non-combatants in Gaza. Again, there's 2.5 or whatever million people in the Gaza Strip. That's just an atrocious thing. Now, this gentleman lives there, and he says, I swear there are no militants here. There's no militants. There's no one even carrying a needle, as you can see. Why are they bombing us? The whole neighborhood is flattened to the ground. Thank God we got out safely. But they hit us with phosphorus. Phosphorus. Why are you hitting civilians with phosphorus? Again, it's a substance that's banned. It literally sticks and burns. It's horrendous. And yet, this is exactly what's gone on time after time after time again. If there is an incident and, again, 10 Israelis lose their lives, then 100, 200, 500 of the opposition will lose their lives. This is exactly what has been the way Israel handles things. American vessels will evacuate U.S. citizens from northern Israel. A boat trip from Haifa will not be free, and those that board the ship will need to sign an agreement to repay the U.S. government. Again, who funds the U.S. government? We do. Well, why don't you take a survey of people? And I think most people would say just get them out and that's something we'll eat. But no, they're going to keep funding death and destruction because that's what the government's all about. It's not about us. None of these governments are about us. That's the thing to realize. As you see more footage, more clashes with Hezbollah along the Lebanese border, it's just escalating. It is escalating, and the numbers of dead just growing. Following multiple reports, they are able to confirm this fire was in Tripoli, Lebanon. This is on the northern side of Lebanon, so this is farther away from the Israeli border, but we've also seen strikes into Syria. The reality is, why does Israel act so brutally and without any sort of hesitation? I think that's just part of the plan. I honestly think it's part of getting the whole Islamic nation riled up to the point that they will attack, and thus we will have that WW3. That's what Israel's purpose has been. The recreation, again, by a Rothschild and by the UN Charter. And again, you will have so many people of a fundamentalist persuasion saying the UN is the beast. Well, yeah, they're not wrong there. It is part of the beast system, absolutely. But then not realize that the UN is the reason why Israel exists again. Because, this has all been part of the script. And here we have the Iraqi parliament call for the activation of the Arab Defense Treaty in response to the ongoing Israeli actions. What is it? It was established in 1950, bringing together several Arab nations with the shared aim of promoting collective defense in the event of aggression against any member state. It's like NATO, so when invoked, it could lead to collective military action. So, again, this is it's a matter of timing. It is a matter of timing. As you see some humanitarian aid trucks carrying food, water, and medical supplies en route to the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing. Well, I've also seen reports that they said when the border was open, they would let some people out and into Egypt. But again, there's a lot of conflicting reports out there. Floods hitting Israel. So many people are waking up right now to the fact of that we do have technology that creates these floods. And there are so many people saying, oh, this isn't a coincidence. No, of course not. They're using weather warfare to stall the foot invasion of Gaza. And even as we were talking about yesterday, the fact that there's earthquake technology that's in play. And this part of it is really awakening with people.
And laser is finally on display. It's no more it's something that is very, very real that we've known for a long time, and they're now putting it into the mainstream. And what I'm sensing and picking up with the collective is that we definitely have this snowball forming with the mainstream collective. Those that we would perceive to be asleep, they are waking up, and we really need to keep pushing this energy for everyone to wake up, because still, even with the forces that are working with the governments, there's still so many more of us than there are of them. And I know that there's some very powerful prayer warriors out there that are doing everything they can to help bring some type of relief to those who are suffering, the innocent ones that are going through so much. And now there is so much stuff going on when it comes to the news. I mean, it's just you don't really know heads or tails. You just know things are not right. So I don't believe that anyone is going to be advertising their moves. So every time we see something, on the news or Twitter, that they're doing this or moving this ship over here or that over there, you have to take all of that with a grain of salt and just explore it with yourself and see if it makes sense. But realize that everything that they're saying right now, they're not going to advertise their moves. But we have a little bit of an idea what we think is going on, but I'm really keeping a lot of my energy focused on those who need some relief from the trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. And humanity's been induced into this hypnotic state where they don't even recognize that they are hypnotized. They're totally hypnotized. And then they are divided into these different groups. And it's very dangerous when somebody doesn't know that they're under the control of somebody else. They think they're doing things, making decisions of their own free will. But in reality, they're not. They're just acting as they've been programmed to act and react. And thus this makes this all so very predictable. When we look to what's happening right now, it shows the latest death toll stands at 2,807 Palestinians. At least 1,400 people killed in Israel. So you can see now the number of Palestinians dead has doubled Israel's. This is exactly, and they won't stop there. And this has been exactly kind of the plan the whole time. So in Gaza, 2,750 people killed, 9,600 destroyed. In the West Bank, 57 killed, at least 1,200 injured. Israel, 1,400 killed, 3,400 injured. These figures were reported by the Palestinian Health Ministry, Palestinian Crescent Society, and Israeli Medical Services. So, it's just growing, obviously, and if there is a ground invasion, it's just going to be absolutely massive. Over 1 million people internally displaced. China sides with Hamas and calls for Israel to back down, saying Israel's actions have gone beyond self-defense. Many people will look to Revelations and talk of that 200 million man army from the east. It could only be one thing. It could only be China or India, in reality, or China and India, and it could also be many others with them. But now we could see how this is going to be provoked into coming about. And again, it's just part of the plan. So now you have, the war going on in Ukraine. You have the war in Israel. What if all of a sudden, North Korea shoots down into South Korea, or China goes into Taiwan? Well, again, China has said Taiwan is really nothing. They need to have a much bigger landmass to feed their people. Otherwise, they'll have to lose half their people. But then the bigger programming is a much smaller population in the first place. As we've looked at these different numbers, all these different numbers, the ones that were on the guide stones that got destroyed, remember that got destroyed, and then it seems like everything has gone even more crazy since it was destroyed. Was that a kickoff signal? Perhaps. That said 500 million, and other numbers have said between that and 1 billion pretty consistently, in fact. So again, we're looking at the world having 1/16 or 1/8 when all is said and done, the amount of people that's on it right now. That's a lot of destruction. And that's also what they have planned. Iran's concerned about the Gaza crisis. They warned that the time for political solutions in Gaza is running out. Suggests that the possible expansion of war is approaching an inevitable stage. This was the newest one I saw. There was other ones out there yesterday where it seemed like they were backing off, getting directly involved. It's the art of war. Absolutely, you don't want to say exactly what you're doing. So again, while maybe the top leaders understand the bigger picture, and they understand they're just pawns. Absolutely, when you're talking about your average foot soldiers, your sergeants, your colonels, even a lot of generals don't really understand the bigger picture. This is from Torah, Judaism. Israel is hostile to the Jews. What? Israel claims to fight anti-Semitism, but they are the real anti-Semitic. Being against Zionism in Israel does not make you an enemy of the Jews. Zionists are usurpers who pretend to be Jews and use their Jewish history for their own political agenda. For centuries, Jews and Muslims have lived together and supported each other. We became neighbors and made friends. We even entrusted our own children to each other and took care of each other's children. Those who occupy Palestinian lands will have nothing to do with real Jews. So you see, again, another different perspective within a belief system. What's the purpose of a belief system? Isn't it to make us better people, to bring us closer to God's source, of all things? These conflicts certainly don't do that. And as we see within each grouping, each different religion, sect, there are people that disagree. And then, of course, there's the whole Khazarian situation, which we don't really speak of much, but we are aware of course, as an avid student of history. Here, this is in San Diego. We saw chaos in Los Angeles. I think it was one of yesterday's videos. Palestinian supporters try to block camera as they assault a pro-Israeli woman by ripping her flag from her and stomping on it. Yeah, the whole purpose is to divide us, and it's working. It's working to a high degree. It's not working totally, and there are those that no matter what happens, they're not going to give in to the lower frequencies, the lower vibrations. There are those that recognize what's going on as part of a bigger plan. It's all about lowering our frequencies during the time when we are ascending up. And the reality is, without this system here, oh man, we would be just amazed at how good things are getting. Get rid of the UN, get rid of the WE, you know what the last digit is, get rid of all the power structure, and we could start to really have some peace.
Mm-hmm. We definitely need it. And we see with all of these mainstream belief systems, I don't see where it's pulling people together, like Mike said, to make them better people, to have them help another person. It just seems to be causing this thing where one person thinks that they're right and the other person thinks that they're right, and it's causing this extra amount of friction. And this is what we are forever going to point out about these mainstream belief systems, is that they're created by the control system to control you. So, I mean, I just don't understand how any one person can step on a mound and say, I'm the best one, and everybody else here, you're just wrong. And God's always going to choose me, and only good things are going to happen to me. And everybody else is just, you're just chopped liver. I mean, how can any one person think that? I don't get it. Even when I myself was trying to study the Bible, I never felt myself, I always knew that was wrong, thinking of myself like I'm the only one with the truth. I knew that was wrong. I never claimed that. I didn't even like that about the the mainstream religion, but it's because I'm a spiritual being that I was looking for something to fit myself. But right now we just have a huge amount of chaos, and I think we need to leave those things at the door when it comes to whatever religion or belief, and we need to come together at the heart chakra and leave it at that, and understand that a lot of other people are being controlled. I mean, I do believe enough people are awake now that something good can come of this. We just need to keep going, keep coming together, and keep working with one another, and have compassion, and put the good vibes out for those who are suffering at the hands of those who create these belief systems.
Yeah, I think somebody that has done enough work of the spiritual nature, when you look at everything that's going on, it just doesn't make a lick of sense from any point other than the fact that this is just simply intentional programming that's set up the world for chaos and destruction. It's pretty obvious. 9,000 killed in Sudan hostilities. 6 months of fighting there has plunged the country into the worst humanitarian crisis in recent history. Why? Because rival ethnicities going on. We got to start understanding we're part of something bigger. Here, what they keep us always looking at the little picture. Oh, okay, so we have different races, we have different religions, we have different political ideas. Again, we got to look at the bigger picture. We're all part of a whole, and we're all acting, well, not all of us, but yes, the system acts as a raging cancer. And again, we will never have peace until we recognize that. And look at what it just does to nature. Russia's banning all seafood imports from Japan because of Fukushima. They don't want to have anything to do with a little radioactive fish. I don't blame them. Again, the whole system is set up to cause a toxic environment. That's part of its whole purpose. It's not just harming us, it's harming this little guy who's amazing, by the way. Isn't he amazing? Look at that. Look at how nature is just incredible. And we lose our appreciation for that because we're so wrapped up in everything that they indoctrinate us with, which is now, the technology, the fact that we don't have to get up off our butts and do anything. And this is also why our immune systems are depleting, and we are faced with all sorts of chronic ailments because we don't actually use our bodies anymore. And unfortunately, most of the world is not using their brains either.
No, they're not. So, let's everyone continue to put our heart chakras together and put the good energy out there and help dissolve and dissipate what the controllers are trying to do. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's one thing I've learned in this life. If we really want something, if we work on it, if we focus, we can get it.
Absolutely. So keep putting your positive intentions out there. Refuse to become part of the chaos. Rise above. Join us over on Heart's Home as well. Much love, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.